Good evening. Welcome to the Planning Commission meeting for March 28th. I'll ask everyone to please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. Next on our agenda is approval of the agenda. Are there any changes or additions? So the agenda will stand as presented. Next item is public comment on non-agenda items. If you want to comment on something that's not on the agenda, please step to the podium and you have 4 minutes. I'm sorry?
Can't hear you.
This is not on?
You got to speak right into the mic.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Next item is approval of the minutes of the February 22nd meeting. Are there any questions or corrections?
No. I have moved to approve the minutes of the February 22nd meeting.
Support.
We have a motion and support to approve the minutes. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have a public hearing on special use and site plan for Maple Hill Auto Group, and I believe we'll have staff report first.
Thank you, Planning Commission. I know a few of you have met me before, but my name is Kyle Mucha. I work with McKenna, and we have been asked by the township to provide your site plan analysis for the project at 6565 West Main. Leanna, if I could figure out how to get that off of mute. So before you here is a site plan review and special land use request by Maple Hill Auto Group. I believe the applicant is in attendance as well, who can also address some of the concerns that may come up throughout this review. The request of Maple Hill Auto Group is to propose a construction of a 50,106 square foot building, which will encompass a showroom, service repair facility, warehouse, and other associated improvements, again at 6565 West Main. Further, the applicant proposes to conduct site enhancements for vehicle sales display in an area for storage of vehicles undergoing repair. Parcel number is number 0514330-020. A vehicle sales lot within the C local business district is classified as a special use. Planning Commission, after holding a public hearing, may approve the site plan and special use. So we'll initially work through our site plan review comments. Again, the property is zoned C local business district. The approximate size is 18.9 acres. Again, we've already talked about this. The applicant proposes new and used car sales, showroom and staging area, a 28-bay service repair facility, parking lot and landscaping, retail parts and warehouse. Access and circulation will be primarily through West Main, with additional access pending site road development to the south as well. Mr. Porter can touch on that further if there's questions. A driveway permit from MDOT is required with a supporting traffic impact study. Sidewalks for this site, there's an existing 10-foot wide asphalt pedestrian pathway along the West Main portion. We do note on the site plan that it appears that part of the access pathway does dip into the property itself. So we do request from the applicant that this is confirmed to either be fully within the public right-of-way, or in other words, off of the private property. If it is located on the property itself, we are requesting that an easement agreement be executed with the township that offers access to this full pathway. Parking requirements have been reviewed diligently through us in collaboration with the applicant on this. There are requirements for repair bays, automotive repair shops, showrooms, warehousing, and then also access reduction should there be a secondary proposal on this. We find that under the requirements of the zoning ordinance, 129 spaces are required. The applicant proposes 134, so meeting the intent of the ordinance and exceeding that. Further, the applicant does request that 25% of these spaces are reduced to a 9-foot width as compared to the minimum of 10 feet, and then also proposing the depth of some of these spaces to go from 20 feet to 18 feet. And that authority is available in the zoning ordinance should the planning commission so choose. So we find that reducing the 32 spaces from a standard width of 10 feet to 9 feet and a depth of 20 feet to 18 feet will still meet the intent of the ordinance. Loading facilities is proposed with the site along the southwestern portion of the development. Building setbacks for the C district required are 170 feet along the front, which would be the west main portion, side of 20 feet, and rear of 20 feet. The minimum setback distance from any building in any rear or interior side property line shall be 20 feet, or the height of the abutting side of the building. We are requesting that the applicant just confirm on their plans the height of the building to ensure that the side setback is met. Landscaping comments have been provided by Whiteman Engineering within this as well. So I'm happy to defer to Whiteman on that, should the Planning Commission have any questions on landscaping elements. Lighting, the applicant has provided a lighting detail for our review. It's a photometric plan, and based on the submission from them, we find that their proposed lighting for this site meets the intent of the ordinance and can be recommended for approval. Engineering comments, as they relate to stormwater, has been noted within your packet, and then additional permit review through MDOT, because West Main is not a county road, it is a state road. So we are requesting that MDOT does review this site for access. The fire department has also provided comments, and we have noted that in our review letter to the applicant and the planning commission. They note that location of the fire department connection needs to be adjusted. The plans show the FDC, fire department connection on the building. This connection shall be remote from the building. This could be relocated directly west to the current proposed building location to just off the roadway. The closest accessible fire hydrant is located over 400 feet away. Therefore, either a new fire hydrant will be needed or relocation. And this is from the Township Fire Department comments. There are provisions as well for this site for special land use. As such, the special land use requirements are under Section 65 of your zoning ordinance. Number 1, or A, is the proposed use will be consistent with the purpose and intent of the master plan and zoning ordinance, including the district in which the use is located. Implementation of the access management plan as sites are developed and redeveloped. So to be consistent with the recommendations of the access management plan, it is recommended the applicant resize the stormwater basin to maintain a 150-foot area at the front of the site to provide future cross-access to adjoining properties. Comments from the township engineer staff support this recommendation as well. Further, a defined access to the off-street parking area shall be provided, not exceeding 30 feet in width. Such access drive shall be constructed similar to the parking areas maintained. Within the new and used car staging areas that are dimensioned at unprogrammed asphalt areas to exceed the maximum width requirement, dimensioned at 63 feet, 55 feet, and 35 feet. These areas must be formalized with a landscape island and a clearly defined access lane not exceeding 30 feet, as highlighted on the screen and within your packet. Additionally, the access lane on the west side of the building is dimensioned at 50 feet. Vehicle lane must be reduced to 30 feet. Further special land use requirements, the size and location of such outdoor sales business shall not be as such to unreasonably interrupt or impede pedestrian or vehicle travel by customers or patrons of the adjoining commercial businesses. As we've already alluded to earlier, township Access management plan includes a recommendation for a frontage road or service drive along West Main Street. Resizing the stormwater basin could create an opportunity for future cross-access consistent with the access management plan. So a positive finding can be made, another criteria with details provided in the staff report as regulated under section 65, and then used car lot section 49. So therefore, it is staff's recommendation that the site plan and special land use are approved with the following conditions. And Madam Chair, I'm happy to read the conditions if you so wish. If not, they have been presented within our staff report as well. So I would defer to you, and if you would like us to go through those, or if you are. Yes, miss. Number 1, pedestrian pathway is confirmed to be located fully within the public right-of-way along the northern portion of the subject property. If not fully located within the right-of-way, an easement agreement is executed with the township for access. Building height is listed on the plan and conforms with the side setbacks illustrated on the site plan. 3, the applicant received a permit from MDOT, provides a traffic impact analysis, and the final plan set is consistent with the plan approved by Oshtemo Township. 4, finalization of design for on-site stormwater management systems, maintenance agreements for stormwater management systems, and any other engineering details shall be subject to the administrative review and approval of the township engineer prior to building permit issuance. This condition includes limiting parking access drives to 30 feet and providing space for a service drive on the north side of the site. 5, the township approves the proposal for reduced parking space dimensions for up to 25% of the required spaces, as illustrated on the site plan. 6, comments from the fire department are addressed. 7, all non-motorized facilities shown on the approved site plan shall be installed prior to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy. And 8, any other comments, requirements as stipulated by the township or reviewing agency, if any. Yes, miss.
I've got one. I'm looking in our packet at one of the drawings here showing the drive aisles. And one of the conditions, I forgot which one it was about reducing those, I think, to 30 feet, you said?
Yes, sir.
Is that what's being called out in these red boxes on the,
Yes, sir.
okay, because like, it looks like a 55 width right now. Yes. Okay, thank you. And then the second question I had was, when I looked at the off-street parking of motor vehicles part of the ordinance, I did notice that there is provision of parking facilities for bicycles. And I don't know if I saw that on the documents that we had here, unless I missed it.
I would have to go back to our site plan and review on that one. I don't know if we address that more fully internally or not. We have gone diligently with the applicant on the parking requirements, so if that is a consideration from the planning commission, that could be added as a condition of approval.
Okay. I mean, personally, I'd like to see it. We've got that language in here. There's a beautiful non-motorized facility directly in front of this property. Seco Drive's gonna be extended through it. Connectivity is a priority. Makes sense.
Any other questions for staff? Thank you.
Thanks.
Deb, I think your mic's off.
Oh, sorry. The applicant would like to come forward and make a comment?
Hi, my name is Jim Vandenberg, owner and general manager, Maple Hill Auto Group. This is a plan that we're all excited about. It's taking a 20-acre lot, 18.9 acres, and, sorry, just had a surgery last night, so a little groggy, but we'll make it through. It was a 19.8 acre facility. Maple Hill Auto Group is purchasing the front, approximately 10 acres of that. We've had a number of meetings with the township planning, trying to work through this because there's been a lot of moving parts with it, some with our manufacturers, Oshtemo Township, the Kalamazoo Road Commission, because with that extension of Seco Drive for the township, wanting to get access into the property to the east of there, which is the wooded land right now, but to have another access road versus just the road that's coming out from Advia or the road that's proposed to go into the area right next to Ethan Allen, right behind on that street right there. So we've been through a number of meetings. I think we've come to a great compromise between the selling people who are keeping the back 8 acres or so, and then an acre and a half is going to someone, Kalamazoo Road Commission or the township for the access road going through there, an extension of Seco, and then the 10 acres up front. We are already a tenant of Oshtemo Township. We've been in business here for I purchased it in 1995, so we're 29 years there that I've owned it. Good neighbor with it. We've tried to get a lot done in a short period of time. Our meeting tonight, we have not executed our buy-sell. Our buy-sell is predicated on this meeting of getting the special exception use. And then at that point, we'll move to closing next week on it, if we have the special exception on the property. I don't know if West Side Medical was represented on their side. I don't know if there's questions for there. We're trying to keep the area, as a Subaru dealer, we're trying to keep it as a very unique property, keeping a lot of the green space in front. We're going to try to put dog runs in. We have a lot of our customers who bring their dogs in to the facilities, and we'll have a dog run, not just a run, but it's also a cleaning facility where you can rinse down and easily remove of waste materials, and we put right into our drainage and our sewer lines properly. We're also looking for outdoor play areas for kids. We're looking at a hiking trail that hopefully will circulate the whole 20 acres there and have some area. Part of our building plan is to put in a community room that is offered up free of charge to charities and also for charity events, so we can have after hours. We've designed that separately so it can be anything that they would need for that meeting, including restrooms, could be lockable into a section of the building that doesn't intrude into the business itself, and they could have their events after hours. We've done a lot with our parking and spaces, and the reduction in the parking spaces, as mentioned, were in our bullpen area, which is a non-public area, is where we park customers' cars. All cars that come into the facility come into the building itself, and then are ported to the back-end property. We call it the bullpen, which is directly behind the building, and that's where we have a reduction in those parking spots. We don't have anybody from the consumer side getting in there. Then when the customer comes at night to pick up their car, we porter the car back up into the drive, and they take off. Bikes, we do have a lot of people who are biking, but all of that's done inside. We don't keep any bikes on the outside of the buildings. And all of our we have people who drop their car off and then bike out. We don't have anybody who bikes in to have their bikes repaired because we're a car facility, but they will bring their bike in the back of their Outback and drop their car off in the morning, pedal, go somewhere, and then they come back in. And we secure all of that inside the buildings for our customers. It's a large facility. We think that we are really going to wrap it, and it will be unrecognizable from what it is. We are keeping the 2-story building that's on the property. That was the original building. It's a square rectangle that sits there. All of the rest of it, we'll be eliminating all the other buildings that their ceiling heights are around 8 foot, and that's not conducive for anything within the automobile business, parts, sales, or service. So those we'll be demolishing and then rebuilding our service facilities with much taller ceilings, the waiting rooms, the drive-ins for the either age or drugs are doing something to me, but for our write-up service, the cars come in, new showroom, new offices. We will be using the existing building for our corporate offices, offices upstairs, training areas, large lunch rooms. We're going to put those kind of unique in the business, so we put them on the first floor so that our employees are not stuck to the back or upstairs in in the back corner of it. We put it right out front so they can enjoy the landscaping. Landscaping is a big part of what we're about, and getting trees. We kind of want to have our waiting room, which will sit on the northwest side of the building, that really we're not going to see West Main from that area, with some type of trees and shrubbery, and trying to get them to feel like you're not even in a highway situation that runs 35,000 cars a day. It is a beautiful piece of property. It's been well cared for, and we continue to think that we can take it to a different level. So I'll take any comments, if you have any, or...
Any questions for Mr. Vandenberg? Thank you.
I have a quick question.
Was I coherent most of the time? Okay. All right.
Your current facility will still exist and operate?
Yes.
Mr. Passer?
Yeah, the current facility, good point. This is moving one of my brands, the largest brand, off that property. Right now, we have 6 brands up there on 5.5 acres. So this would move one of them to 10 acres and then leave the remaining ones up at that facility. So it's just a break off of it.
Anyone else? Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I'll take public comment on this item. If you have public comment, please step to the podium, give us your name and address, and you have 4 minutes.
Madam Chair, it is a public hearing as well.
Yes.
So you want to open a public hearing on that.
Yes, I thought that's what I did.
You should have a motion to open public hearing.
We don't usually do that.
We never have.
You ever have? Okay.
Nope. We just let the chair call it.
Thank you.
Okay. Seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing and... Sorry. Sorry? Oh, I'm sorry.
This was received by staff a couple days ago for this public hearing item. Good evening, Planning Commission. Please consider this letter of support for your hearing on March 28 by Maple Hill Auto Group's application to redevelop 6565 West Main Street into a Subaru auto dealership. I am the property owner immediately east of this parcel, 6479 West Main. Redevelopment of this parcel by a strong brand such as Subaru will anchor the site of the retail corridor on West Main and will stimulate additional interest from other retailers and service providers to locate in this area. We encourage the PC to consider cross easements and access points for east-west roads as contemplated in the area master plan. As the planning department knows, the 48.8 acres west of this parcel and owned by Dalzell and Associates and Betino Residential LLC are in preliminary planning stages of development. Respectfully, Marcel Bergler. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, with that, we'll close the public hearing and go into board discussion. No comments? No questions?
The one thing that strikes me is, this may be a little thing, is on what Mr. Vandenberg described as the bullpen, parking spots, that we're reducing the width on the parking spots from 10 feet to 9 feet, and the length from 20 to 18. Thank you. And the length from 20 to 18, that kind of concerns me a little bit, especially if for some reason that could move over into the public spaces. Maybe it's just that I'm getting older and getting more chunky, but when you're reducing things to 9 feet to get in and out of a car, you're going to get a lot of door dings and stuff. You're reducing that space, and I don't want to see that happen. Maybe great for the car business, but you know, I just don't see that as being something we want to promote.
Isn't this just, this public can't park here though? Isn't this just
That's where
they're parking the
That-
vehicles?
Yeah, but
That's what I understood.
will anything about that allow the public spaces maybe to be reduced in
No.
the future?
No,
For-
they specifically designate, see the area
Yep,
that says
right there.
bullpen? The way I'm reading the recommendation from your planner is it would be those limitations would be restricted
Just to that.
only where the company personnel is parking cars. But good point to note in the record.
Any other comments, questions? If not, I guess we're ready for a motion.
As soon as I get my 12,000 documents in front of me here, one second. Let's see. I would move to approve Maple Hill Auto Group's site plan and special exception use approval to redevelop 6565 West Main Street with the conditions presented.
Do we have a second? We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Our next item is a public hearing on the tentative preliminary plan for West Ridge Site Condominium. And we'll have staff report first.
Apologies. Anna, do you mind?
Did he turn it on?
No, I send this on.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right. Thank you, Chair. The applicant is requesting step one tentative preliminary plan approval for a site condominium project located at 7110 West Main Street. Currently serving as a residential use, the applicant is seeking to demolish the existing structures on site in order to develop 41 new single-family homes. The subject site falls within the R2 Residence District zoning designation. The proposed development is located on the north side of West Main Street between 7th and 8th Street. The site in question is outlined in light blue on the map on the right-hand side of your screen. When reviewing an application for a site condominium development request, there's one set of criteria that needs to be considered. The subdivision, site condominium, and land division ordinance of Article 290. Site condominium projects developing under Article 290 require review and approval by the Planning Commission and the Township Board. The Planning Commission, in this instance, is the recommending body who will need to determine whether to forward a recommendation of approval or denial to the Oshtemo Township Board. Further details breaking down this, each requirement of said section can be found in the staff report beginning on page 79 of the packet. Article 290 includes requirements on arrangement, size, and shapes of building sites, design of streets and pedestrian pathways, stormwater provisions related to natural features, external factors such as non-motorized and road connections, along with other general site elements. The first thing we'll look at are the general zoning and configuration of the parent parcel. A snapshot of the proposed site plan is shown on the right-hand side of your screen. As previously noted, the subject site is zoned R2 Residence District. Single-family site condominium developments are considered an allowable use within the R2 Residence District. The property abuts single-family homes to the north, west, and south, along with commercial development to the east. The parent parcel consists of 20 acres and is situated just east of North 7th Street and directly adjacent to North 8th Street. The project site also possesses roughly 720 feet of road frontage along West Main and is about 1,250 feet deep. As for building sites, they are proposed to range anywhere from 10,600 square feet to 15,683 square feet in area, providing an average site size of 13,193 square feet over the 41 units. Each site is proposed to possess 100 feet of road frontage or greater. The setbacks for each building site within the development include 30 feet for the front, 10 feet for the sides, and 15 for the rear. All minimum frontage, area, and setback requirements have been met. As for access and circulation, the developer is proposing a street network that is planned to be private. The transportation network will consist of a total of 3 streets, which will be 28 feet wide curb to curb on a 66-foot private right-of-way. No building site within the development will have exclusive access to West Main Street. Block lengths shown on the site plan are acceptable and satisfy code requirements. Ridgetop Circle and Vertex Circle are proposed to terminate at the development's north end in cul-de-sacs and are proposed to be temporary turnarounds. Such cul-de-sacs are designed as such as they are meant to facilitate future interconnection should the 10-acre property adjacent to the north ever be subdivided or condominiumized. Additionally, the applicant has submitted a traffic impact analysis to MDOT as part of the permitting process for a new driveway off of West Main Street. The traffic impact analysis results did conclude that a new access point in the southwest corner of the parent parcel as proposed would be allowed. With respects to non-motorized facilities, 5-foot wide concrete sidewalks are proposed on each side of the road throughout the development. Associated ADA ramps and concrete curbing are proposed at each intersection. The township's non-motorized transportation plan also identifies a 10-foot wide shared use path adjacent to the subject site on the north side of West Main Street. Such facility is currently proposed on the site plan in question. It should be noted that the subject shared use path will be required to go through MDOT's permitting process since this stretch of West Main falls within MDOT's jurisdiction. Public water and sewer are both being proposed. Construction of municipal water and sewer along the north side of West Main Street between North 7th and 8th Street is currently underway, and the site condominium development is proposing to tie into such public infrastructure in the southwest corner of the site and then extend it throughout the parcel. All existing easements have been illustrated. Easements for water, sewer, gas, electric, stormwater, tree preservation, right-of-way and temporary turnarounds will be necessary, and all easements will be required to be recorded at the Kalamazoo County Register of Deeds office. 2 stormwater basins are proposed on the south end of the development. Easements to gain access to the overall development stormwater basins are currently proposed. Such access easements are needed for maintenance purposes in case either basin is in need of repair. Yard drains to collect stormwater are proposed in the rear yard for a number of the units in order to accommodate such stormwater needs. In terms of lighting, the developer is proposing street lighting throughout the condominium project. Locations of pole-mounted lights are shown on the site plan. A photometric plan satisfying ordinance requirements will be required to be provided at time of step 2 approval. Additionally, as part of the requirements outlined in Article 290, the applicant has provided a natural features preservation plan identifying trees that will be preserved versus trees that will be removed. The trees identified for removal are in areas where key infrastructure or improvements such as driveways, roads, or the dwelling unit will be implemented. Of the 1,635 trees that are 8 inches or greater in diameter on site, 457 of which will remain intact. This would mean that 28% of trees 8 inches or greater in diameter will be preserved, exceeding minimum code requirements. Tree protection barrier fencing will also be installed for all trees that will remain intact. More than 15% of the project site is set aside as designated open space. A landscaping plan has been provided to the township as part of the submission and does meet township ordinance requirements as well. Both fire department and engineering have reviewed the proposal and for the most part are satisfied with the overall design for step 1 approval. Recommendation, planning department staff recommend the planning commission forward a recommendation of step 1 tentative preliminary plan approval to the township board for a 41-unit site condominium development located at 7110 West Main Street with the conditions provided in the staff report. Thank you. I'd be happy to answer any questions and believe the applicant is in attendance tonight.
I've got one question for you, Colton.
Yeah.
So as I was trying to read the sections in the memo about the future extension of 8th Street,
Yep.
I got a little bit confused about where that landed. So is the intent that the future of 8th Street will just be a public road? It won't necessarily be going into their development, correct? It would just be on, they'd give an easement that would hold half of that road, future road?
Yeah, that's correct. So essentially, potentially, so 33 feet on the parent parcel would be directly adjacent to 8th Street, and then in efforts to consolidate driveways with the neighboring property to the east.
Okay. So in the future, though, if or when that road is constructed, that wouldn't change that access driveway that they would have prior? Would that
So
be
the goal,
closed, or-
so if that plan ever came to fruition, the goal would be to close that driveway in the southwest corner of the site that they're currently in process of getting permits through MDOT, and have that become a kind of a hammerhead so that fire can safely circulate the site.
I see.
And then that, in the southeast corner, would then become the primary access directly across 8th Street.
Okay. And that's what the applicant was amenable to?
Yes,
during the
applicant is
discussion.
aware.
Okay,
Yep.
that's what I understand. Thank you.
Yeah.
The rest of this looks good.
So this plan would accommodate, the current site plan would accommodate if 8th Street were to extend north through the property?
Excuse me, it would have to be a joint effort with the
Yes.
township and the developer.
And the property owner to the east of the applicant's
Correct.
property.
And
yes.
our engineer's been in conversations with both this developer and the property owner that's east of this property.
Yes.
And there's a likelihood that we may be able to square up 8th Street and then have a direct access that way.
And essentially, the center line of 8th Street would be that current property line, right? Between
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay. Thank you.
Would that accommodate then the houses that are proposed for that easternmost part of the development? There would still be room for a road behind them?
I'm sorry, Chair, where are you saying?
Well, if 8th Street were going to be extended north through this parcel, you're saying there would be property gained from the parcel to the east, so that, I'm just wondering, like, the
Yes.
placement of the houses right now.
I think the street would basically require this developer to give a portion of the property that you sort of see in light blue on page 81 of your report. And then the street, as it went north, I think it would deviate then to further to the east, and then use an easement over the neighboring property. Initially, it would be shared, and then I believe it's going to move to the east and move forward. I don't think it's going to take the backyard of these people's homes that are being planned.
No, it would
Yeah,
not
that was-
take the backyard of these people whatsoever. It would, sorry, you can't see my cursor. I don't know how to show you, but it would essentially cut through that open space and then veer off and then continue heading
North.
northbound
Okay.
Colton,
off of, I believe, Vertex Circle.
Colton, on,
Yes.
on the drawing, it says West Ridge Step 1 tentative preliminary plan. The bottom, that's the property line, right, for this whole thing that's outlined in blue on page 79?
Yes, that is the property
All right,
line.
so could, but if you look, lots 29 through, I think it's 36, abut that property line.
Right.
And from what Deb just asked, I think that's a good question. I don't see how 8th Street would,
The explanation is, if you're all looking at your screen.
Right.
That he has up now, the part that's sort of light green,
yes,
the road would run 33 feet of that green parcel, 33 feet to the east, and then when it went from green to white, where those parcels exist, that road is then going to shift and then be solely upon the neighboring property.
got it, thank you.
But good question. And that's the way I remember it from the way Anna described it to me, who's our township engineer.
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions for Colton?
So just to follow that up, that means, follow that up, that means that we come in on the 33 feet. But before we get to that first house, there's then a road, an access road that ties in so that all these houses have access to 8th Street and no longer have access to West Main.
No, they will,
No.
because in cooperation with the township, then, I don't know the name of the street, but the one that you see running east and west, that will be brought out to that road as the connection point.
Yes.
That
And
was
then
my
the
question.
hammerhead closed.
Thank you.
But that's all future development in cooperation with the township.
Right.
Our engineer that we have on staff right now is always looking toward the future to try to make sure that things are as safe, as accommodating for everybody as possible.
Okay. Any other questions for staff? Thank you, Colton.
Thank you.
If the applicant is here, would like to,
All right. Here.
I'll keep the time.
You, John. Nice to meet you, man.
The applicant.
So, yeah, go ahead and plug it in. Yeah, and then,
glad you're here, Leanna.
I think Leanna's going to get a honorary degree in technical support. Blank.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm gonna try and power it off and then power it back on. Thank you. Of course. yeah, I don't know. It was giving Colton some problems before, but,
Oh,
I'm gonna turn it all off.
If that doesn't work, I do have an easel that I can go grab with a
Okay.
full-size setup plan if you think it would be helpful.
Yeah, I just don't know why. I mean, it was working previously, obviously, while Colton gave his presentation. I'm not sure.
Is it the formatting of the PDF or something? Because it didn't seem to have a problem with this, right?
Yeah. Except now it's not working.
Right.
No. I don't know if I'm
I can
supposed to
just go
address.
ahead and try, and if I need to go grab a big set of prints, and I can.
So the computer, for whatever reason, is not working. I tried to turn it off and on a couple times, but the applicant did indicate that they have an easel and a large format plan that they could go and grab. So,
yeah, we're probably going to need that because
Okay.
otherwise
If you could give me about 2 minutes, I'll go
Yep.
grab it.
we won't have anything to look at otherwise.
Was that farmer's original idea there? Oh, they're the ones that sold it to this. Okay. I didn't know. Did they really actually buy it? Well, I knew it was I thought it was tentative, and then I thought it just fell through the field. Oh, okay. The second owner said,
Oh, yeah? Oh.
yes. We have holes. Actually, they're kind of smoothing things out. Otherwise, she'd see it dance.
Purchase it, I had a very good
Oh, now we're trying to think, okay, can we use it freaking dust up to make something while it's already sides out and everything? Oh, it's certain. Yes, I started last year.
Maybe they need to hear.
I'm not sure.
Because if it's safe. They went. I don't think by the lots. Oh, okay. You and microphone too, so.
To get it all done, but I'm curious with all these delays, what the actual cost is gonna be now for our assessment. Price of everything's gone up so high. For. Oh, it's not? Oh, sweet. Maybe I can use this stuff when I get. I thought all got a garbage.
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Yes. Good evening, planning commissioners. My name is John Lovely. I work with Green Development Ventures LLC, Allen Edwin Homes, 2186 East Center Avenue. I'd like to thank Colton for the really good staff report. I think he was very thorough. I covered a lot of details, so I don't want to repeat a lot of that stuff. I did want to express our excitement for this project. We've been working on it with the township since earlier this summer, actually summer of 2023. We just recently made the submittal for the site plan. We've been working through that the past 3 months or so. We think we've got a great project here. We're really excited about it. If we receive the recommendation to the township board and we receive approval, we've made a lot of progress on engineering, so we'd like to turn around and submit our step 2 plans pretty quickly if we're granted that. So I'd be happy to answer any questions. I did want to clarify just one thing really quickly. Sorry about that. Just one clarification. I think you all understood what we were doing here. So 8th Street is located right here. And what we would be doing is providing a 33-foot easement along here and then a 66-foot easement so it could connect to Hillock Avenue in the future. So 8th Street would come up like this, and then it would gradually, do an S curve. And we have an intersection right here to allow connection to Hillock Avenue, and that would be the main access point. We would then have this closed off and have a hammerhead turnaround. Wow, that looks great. So I think that's about all I have. If you guys have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
I have one question. Why not move that driveway on 43 to the east now?
The timing of that really was not going to work great for us, and the grading in that area is very difficult.
Okay.
It's actually above the 18% where you're allowed to grade under the site condo ordinance.
Okay.
So that was a big challenge for us. We also wanted to maintain some of the trees in that area. So this area that we've got working on with MDOT, they've allowed us to put that there. And we feel like it's a good location for now, but we're very amenable to taking that out in the future if that project with 8th Street ever goes forward.
Okay.
Zach,
Yeah.
if it helps any at all, I remember talking to Anna too, because we had looked at that, and I think MDOT was more concerned about it being just offset from 8th Street and actually being
That's
more,
right.
more dangerous than putting it down the street for now.
Right, because they wouldn't be able to square it because of the
Correct.
property, right? I
Correct.
gotcha. That makes sense. The only other question I had with respect to that is I see that area where we're talking about extending 8th Street is currently your open space. If we do extend the road and they build that connection, is that gonna put them on the wrong side of open space requirements or anything like that? Or how does?
I think in light of public safety, I think the township would take that into consideration as part of the process.
That would be part of the flexibility that we'd have to have.
Absolutely.
Yep,
Yeah.
okay. Those were my questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board?
I have a question, I guess, for Jim. Do we need to somehow formalize the language about that plan beyond just this conversation?
The question that Scott asked was, do we need to formalize some of the future possibilities? I would say no, not at this point. I would say your recommendation is to approve the plan as designed and is currently approved. If things come forward, as with any site plan, when there's amendments to it, those amendments will come back here for your review and approval. So I don't think there's any need to memorialize that. It may or may not develop, so.
And we will include it in the master deed in the future. So as we're working into our step 2, we're working on our draft master deed. We've already got our attorneys working on this particular easement, so that will be incorporated.
And if it makes the planning commission feel better, when the master deed comes through, one of the requirements is that every bit of that is reviewed and approved by council, by myself. So we'll check on
Oh, I
it.
thought you were, never mind. I get it.
Any other questions for the applicant? Thank you. Well, wait till the public I'm going to open public hearing in just a minute. Thank you for your
Thank you.
presentation. We'll now open the public hearing on this item. If you wish to comment, step to the podium, please, give us your name and address, and then you'll have 4 minutes to make your comments.
And just a reminder, it's comment, so we're not gonna be able to go back and forth with you.
Oh, yeah.
Just, okay, just a heads up, yep. And I'll keep track of the time for you.
Here, I'm Bob Clays, 846 North 7th Street, right on the corner of West Main and 7th. My main concern is the commercial that you, zoning that you guys possibly will be doing down the road. Before this was when the farmer was gonna be doing this, you guys had the front part of the property zoned commercial so he could be selling. Now it's going back to residential. Is this going to hinder what you're going to do with the properties to the west of that, along the north side of West Main for commercial? I mean, you have residential going all the way to the West Main now with these condos. That only has really 3 or 4 lots from that point to the 7th Street corridor, street there, to be used as a commercial usage. Will that hinder it?
I'm not sure I understand the
So-
question.
Yeah, again, it's a comment period, it's not a.
Okay,
it's not
so
a
that's all I
back
have
and
to say.
forth.
Right. Your concerns will be noted.
All right, thanks.
Anyone else wish to make public comment? Please come to the podium.
Hi, my name is Simon Ashbrook. I am part owner of the property in question. My father and I bought this property about 7 or 8 years ago. I am the farmer that you mentioned, and when we purchased that property, we had very different plans. If you've ever been over to Gull Meadows in Richland, that was actually what I originally had planned for that property. Pretty early on, I tried to make a zoning change to commercial to where I could have that. That was quickly shot down. After that, I tried to do a conditional rezoning. After some time and money, I was able to get the conditional rezoning. Some things happened in the family and with the farm, so we were not able to move ahead with the meat market that we had planned. As time went on, we decided from a financial standpoint that it's a big piece of property. It's tough to pay taxes on a large piece of property like that when it doesn't do anything for you. And as time went on, we were connected with a few different groups, AVB being one of them. Unfortunately, there was a zoning change they needed as well to make that deal go through. That did not culminate. Since that time, we've been working with Alan Edwin, and I really think that, and I understand there's differing opinions when it comes to this. I understand that there are people that live in close proximity. I understand there's different feelings that come to this, but I think that it could be a very good thing for a lot of families, for the community. I would say just consider some of the positive sides to it, not just the negative sides to it. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I just got a question regarding the vehicle traffic there. And I'd just like to know how this is going to go. Are we going to have another light there on West Main? And that's a lot of people and vehicles that are going to be coming out of there, and most of them are going to want to be turning left. So I just like to, know how that's going to be handled.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Andy Groton, 1140 North 7th Street, one of the adjacent properties. My questions were the light poles. I saw multiple light poles at a light pole at every single house, it looked like. There was, I guess that'd be nice if I could go to them, but that's a lot of light that's going to be shining on the rest of our houses now. And they're all above us, so it's literally just going to be shining on our properties from now on, especially if it's a pole that's 18 feet high, taller than a house, right? Literally just going to be shining right in our houses. My other questions on that is, what is the dotted line around in the green space, and you've got a comment in there? I don't know what that is. I can't zoom in on that anymore. But I guess this is a comment section, so, again, my same comment was, how many people are gonna be driving up and through there, and left-hand turns onto West Main? That's gonna be a problem. Everybody, it's already a problem just from 7th Street with 13 people, let alone, well, 2 cars per household. But 82 cars are gonna be pulling out of there every single day. That's gonna be a lot of problems, accidents, pulling out of there. That's all I have for now. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hi, I'm Paul DeHaan from Services Realty, which is actually Golf Services. I'm the property to the east of this development. I guess I find it ironic that I've never been communicated to regarding this whole 8th Street thing. I came to see Anna, and we discussed it a little bit, but no one's come to me to discuss how it affects our property, and I'm all for this happening, but I think it should be discussed with the property owner as you guys are talking about 8th Street extending and curving over into my piece. I'm open for discussion with everyone as to how we can do this, but I guess I want for the record that I do exist there, and I think some consideration needs to be done in talking to us as to what we see foreseen in the future and what can happen. The traffic is probably a problem. 8th Street and our driveway unfortunately do not line up. I am open to lining up at some point, trying to figure out how to finance that, I guess, is probably an issue. But there's been a thought of doing that for quite some time in my head regarding the property, because it is a very dangerous corner. I turn right on West Main and left into my driveway every morning. And it's very, very dangerous, especially with cars coming, turning left into both driveways and et cetera. So I think this needs to be addressed in a little bit more of a formal manner than just approving the site plan with the way it is right now. I think there needs to be some further
Let me
play.
apologize. I thought you had been contacted by our engineer, but that is just future discussion. That's not part of the site plan tonight, so that is not on the table and should not delay this site plan at all. So that's just future discussion, but I thought you had been spoken to, so apologies.
Okay, Jim. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Brad Wilson, 745 North 8th. I think I would just probably second the comments about a traffic light there. There's already a heck of a lot of competition for that left turn lane. I've heard probably 2 or 3 smash-ups in the time I've lived there, as many years. So I would second all the comments about increased traffic. Probably going to need a traffic light there, or a roundabout perhaps. I know they're not popular here. My other question for the developers would be, are these going to be rented or owned units? Obviously, owned is highly preferable to rented. I think everyone would agree. Other than that, not really anything else.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
I have one more, sorry.
Yes, please.
My question, again, 1140 North 7th Street. My question is the sewer plan, is that going out to West Main? Then it's going to go down to 7th Street and go to the pump that's getting put on 7th Street? That's 41 more homes that's going onto the sewer system, correct? It should be dumping into the northeast corner of that property where the manhole is now, that we're dumping all of 7th Street on, versus adding all of that to 7th Street's pumping. I don't know where that is going, the sewer is going. Just more consideration of what you'll be doing to that pump, that septic system. Anything else?
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hello, my name is Sandy Edwards, and I'm with Calendar Commercial, and we represent the seller. And I can just tell you, this has been a long, long process. We've probably had this property listed for him for going on 2 years, and had it under contract 2 or 3 times, and just have hit obstacle after obstacle. And we give Allen Edwin a great deal of credit for all the work that they've put into this to try to make this a viable option for the township. And we just hope you give it the consideration that it deserves, because we've tried everything else. We tried the commercial, we've tried apartments, we've tried everything else, and this one seems to fit. So we just like to make sure that it's given its due diligence with the township. Thank you.
Thank you. Last call. All right, we'll close the public hearing and have board discussion.
Yeah, I'm going to have some questions. I'm going to try to ask some questions that hopefully were asked of us by some of the members of the public. So can you speak to the lighting plan? What type of lighting you're going to use? If you come up to the podium, address the question. Are they full cutoff lights?
Yes, we do show a number of lights on the site plan. We haven't gotten into the details yet. It's something that we'll finalize during step 2.
Okay.
But typically with this type of a light, it'll go through consumer's energy, so it'll be consumer's energy light. But we'll comply with all the township ordinances. And I think we do have, like I said, we do have a handful of them, but if we do a photometric study and there's too much light, we'll have to reduce that. Or if there's not enough, we'll have to increase it. So,
Okay.
yeah, we'll absolutely get into that detail.
Okay.
Also, there is some, I'd like to note, for those concerns, excuse me, I'm gonna try and zoom in here. This open space is relatively wooded right now. So we're hoping by leaving this the way it is, that it'll kind of help buffer the neighbors, the existing neighbors over there, so.
Thank you for that.
So here, in this section right here, it's a little over 30 feet, I believe. No, this, excuse me, I don't know if you can see my cursor, it's kind of hard to see. So that narrower piece is about 30 feet. The larger piece, Greg, do you know what that measurement is? I think it's closer to 60 or 70.
I was going to say 60 to 80, I would say.
Yep. Yep, it's about 81,000 square foot of open space that we're preserving up here. And that was, considering the neighbors, and wanted to have as little impact as possible over there. Plus, we have some trees, some tree preservation requirements, so this was a perfect spot to do it for us.
Thank you. There was a question about the dotted line in that same open space, and I just wanted to let that person know. It's a proposed natural mode walking trail, is what it says on there. Can you speak to the traffic study? What did the engineers say, and whose role is it to determine whether light would need to be installed?
So we had a professional traffic engineer complete a traffic impact analysis, and what they determined was that the proposed location was acceptable based on all the existing traffic flows and the anticipated traffic flows. There was no need for a light there. So we have there's a positive recommendation with the TIA, and then there's also MDOT, who they're supportive of that location and agree with the traffic impact analysis, so.
Thank you.
And just for the planning commission's edification, that would fall to the Michigan Department of Transportation. We have no authority to order or require a light, just in case somebody was thinking about proposing that.
And then the last one, if you're planning to bring the sewer into the neighborhood, I can't answer the question of which way that's going to be flowing. But I would recommend calling the township, speak to the engineer if you wish to get some more of that information, unless you had it.
I would just defer to the township
Yeah.
engineering, to be
Okay.
honest. We are connecting to it.
Yep. Thank you. I don't have any other questions.
Any other questions for the applicant? Okay. While we technically
Real quick,
close.
I have one question.
Okay, go ahead.
Rental or you selling?
So what we typically do is we'll come into the neighborhood and we'll start building homes and we'll try to sell them. Our preference is to sell them. If for some reason it sits on the market for too long, we may rent it out, but our goal is always to sell every single one of them. So, and I do believe, as far as from a zoning perspective, you're not regulating the ownership, you're only regulating the use in this case. So
That's
I
correct.
appreciate the question, but I don't really know. The intent is to sell all of them.
And it is not something that we regulate.
Right. I think we're in board discussion. If I remember.
Thank you.
I think they're meeting all the requirements. This looks acceptable to me.
And Jim, I don't remember, does step 2 come back to us, or does it go to the board, or township board?
No, step 2 is direct to
I
the
think,
township.
yeah, I think,
It's a review of the construction drawing.
yeah, I had to stop. Thank you, Jody. It's been a while since
Yeah.
we've actually done a site
Right.
condo or a subdivision, so.
Okay.
No, you make a recommendation on this goes to the board, and then step 2 is the actual detailed drawings.
Okay.
Thanks, Shirley.
Are we ready for a motion?
I was just going to comment that it appears that there's no health or safety or public good that this would get in the way of. So it seems like approval is the step we should take.
Is that a motion?
I can make a motion. In regards to the property at 7110 West Main Street, and this first site review?
Step 1.
The step 1. I recommend that we approve the request with the conditions that are placed here in our recommendation. Does that help?
I'll support.
We have a motion and a support. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, moving right along. Our next item is a public hearing on our sign and billboard ordinance. Jim, are you going to take this one?
I think I will take the lead on this. I know the next one, I think Colton has a couple tweaks he'd like to see to the ordinance.
Okay.
If you want me to give a minute for the crowd to clear out? I can see nobody's really interested in the sign ordinance. I wonder why.
I thought I'd just blend in and slip out with the crowd.
I think if you could distill this into a pill, it would put Simonix out of business because. Yeah.
Good luck.
When we started talking about this, the last time I brought it to the board, I was trying to be upfront about the whole reason behind this. And if you recall, there were some recent changes. I say recent, I use that in quotes. I think in 2016, there were some major decisions coming out of the U.S. Supreme Court that said, in essence, some sign ordinances were violating some individuals' First Amendment rights and/or equal protection rights, and therefore the sign ordinances needed to be rewritten. With everything happening in this community, I asked the planning director at that time if we could change this ordinance. Can we carry the conversation outside, gentlemen?
Excuse me, gentlemen. Can you take that? I had the conversation in the hall. Thanks.
And things were so busy, could never quite get it done. The next planning director, we could never quite get it done. And so our ordinance for literally years, I think since 2016, was a little out of step with those requirements. To Iris's credit, when I brought the issue forward that I wanted to, which was to try to deal primarily where I saw we were in violation, it had a lot to do with directional signs, because it was not content neutral in that respect. Well, Iris, being who Iris is, she wanted to do a total rework of the ordinance, and to her credit, most of the work that was done in here is hers, and I give her all the credit for it because I think she really added a lot of clarity to the overall ordinance. So with that in mind, again, the thing that my focus was on was trying to bring it in compliance with the case of, I think it was Reed versus Township, or Town of Gilbert, which was a Supreme Court case.
Do you
To that
remember
extent-
when that was, roughly?
2016.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, and I wasn't trying to be negative toward any of our previous planners. It's just, it's a result of there just being so many things, and apparently nobody decided they were going to sue us over our ordinance. And so it sort of got put on the back burner. But this is why it's here. I can try to answer any questions you have or concerns. My recommendation is if you see things that don't sit well with the board, we could talk about tweaking them. Probably it'd be easier to do it after we actually adopted the bulk of this and then came back. But if there are any questions, I'll do my very best to try to answer them.
Haven't we seen this before? I mean, some of
Yes.
these definitions are coming out. We started this, didn't we?
We did.
Okay.
Yeah, we did. Yep, brought it forward, and I went through basically a similar explanation of what I went through, but then we had to publish the notice and open it up for a public hearing. So basically, at this time, it's properly published for a public hearing for consideration and recommendation to the Township Board for a change in your zoning ordinance. And with that, I see you have no audience left. But you still need to open the public hearing.
Yes. Before we do that, are there any other questions for Jim?
No.
Start. Then we will open the public hearing for the amendments to the township sign ordinance. Seeing no one, we will close the public hearing. Board discussion, or we're ready for a motion if so inclined.
I move to adopt amendments to Section 55, signs and billboards, and a forward recommendation of approval to the Township Board.
Second. We have a motion and support to move this to the township board. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have a public hearing for amendment to the ordinance regarding setback provisions. And Colton, are you going to walk us through this one?
I think you want, I said
Oh, okay.
Yeah, basically, I spent a little bit of the day today sort of letting Jody know that she's got a huge mountain to climb, in that this ordinance we're now working with has been drafted, reworked, and now she's here. And that was my way of telling her that sometimes when you have multiple cooks in the kitchen, sometimes there are some clinkers that happen with your ordinances, and that's just the nature of the beast. And even though I think all of the planners that we've had have done a great job, worked very hard, things happen. And this one was basically put in place to try to address the situation that we saw that we were going to encounter when we started developing or extending Seco Drive. My concern was when you have a property that borders on a major thoroughfare like 43, that's just an example, it can happen in a lot of different places, but then you put a secondary road through it at the request of the township, consistent with our master plan and our overall design for future roads. The fear I had was, first you take a large chunk out of their property for the major road, and then you bring in a secondary road and you have these extensive setbacks from two roads. My concern was that we're getting to the point of being possibly confiscatory. And so I was hoping to find a way to reduce the actual setbacks and some of the requirements from the secondary road so that we wouldn't be accused of an improper taking or overstepping what we could require as a public agency. And so that was my attempt. Unfortunately, I don't think the language in paragraph 3 was as artfully drawn as it could be, and I think Colton's going to help us with that.
At the last PC meeting, I believe it was February 22nd, I know some commission members, Deb, I think you and Phil may have mentioned that the way it currently reads that 50% of the landscaping requirements for the entire property can be reduced, whereas I believe the intent is 50% of the greenbelt landscaping requirements along that secondary road can be reduced by 50%. Not the landscaping for the entire property reduced by 50%. So I believe, Phil and maybe you, Deb, brought that up, and unfortunately it did not make it in this one, I don't believe.
So should it read, the last sentence, should it read, from the secondary road and the landscaping requirements within the greenbelt area shall be reduced by 50%? Is that how it should read? Should it read, part of the last part of the sentence, should it read, and the landscape requirements within the greenbelt area shall be reduced by 50%? Is that how it should read?
The minimum setback from the secondary road and the greenbelt requirements from the secondary road shall be reduced by 50%.
So okay.
Yeah, I think you still need to put this word secondary in there.
Gotcha.
Right in front of landscaping.
Okay. So you can, again, open the public hearing on this with the duly noted change, and then the motion would be to recommend the text change to the township board with the changes as recommended by your zoning administrator.
Okay, we will open the public hearing. Seeing no one, we will close the public hearing. Board discussion or motion?
I move to adopt the amendments to section 50.60C setback provisions for business and industrial districts as edited by our zoning administrator during the meeting this evening, and to forward recommendation of approval to the township board.
I would second that.
A little long-winded there.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Easy.
Do we have any other updates or business?
So as you can see, we, do I need to get on there? As you can see, we do have a new planning director that has joined this team. Her name is Jody Seforia. I'm sure some of you are familiar with her. Jody, do you want to?
We're your team.
Well, I feel very welcome. I had a couple of members of the audience. One gave me a hug. I love being your applicant. That doesn't mean anything. He's just glad I'm back and inquired about my family, which was nice. But I was the planner here for 14 years up until 2012. And a few months ago, Sherry Bell reached out. We had brunch and we started talking about the needs that the township had. And she asked me to consider coming back. And I am very glad to be back. This is a great community. There's so much going on, and I love an engaged planning commission. I love serving in that way. So thank you for having me back.
Welcome back.
Thank you, welcome.
I was thinking of the phrase, everything old is new again, but I thought Jody might like slap me later if I said that.
All right, anything else? Then we are adjourned.
All right.
Thank you.